Shalom, my friends. This is Rabbi Cohen speaking to you from Jerusalem on HTV, providing you with empowering content in order to live an amazing, Jewishly identified, happy, successful life. And we're in this series called Spiritual Journeys. And we're looking through one of the guidebooks. There are two guidebooks in Judaism. One of them is called the Torah. And the Torah is the guidebook to life. What am I meant to be doing? How am I meant to be doing it? And then we have another guidebook, which is the Siddur, the prayer book, which is a guidebook into higher states of consciousness and connection to Hashem. So we've reached on our journey, we said we're going through different levels of consciousness. There's physical consciousness, and then there's emotional consciousness. And now we're in the realm of intellectual consciousness, understanding how we see the world. And we've reached the Shema, which we said is the ultimate declaration of Jewish faith. It's the foundation of everything we believe. And so we really got to understand what's happening when we say this. It's a mitzvah from the Torah to say the Shema twice a day. And so we got to understand what we're saying. So where do we actually get the Shema from? The Shema is in the Torah, is mentioned in the Torah. When Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, our forefathers, he was about to die, and he was going to reveal to his sons, the 12 tribes, the end of days, when Mashiach, when the Messiah was going to come. And at that moment, he lost his prophetic insight, and he thought, whoa, maybe I'm not allowed to share this with them because they're not unified. Maybe they're fighting amongst themselves. So the sons said to him, Shema Yisrael, listen, our father. His name was Jacob, and another name for Jacob was Yisrael. Listen, our father. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. The Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And we're going to talk about these different names of God. But the first thing we have to understand is it was an expression of unity. It was saying we're all unified. We have this foundational, this principle, this same value that is keeping us all together. So this is the first thing we have to know. The Shema is saying that we're the Jewish people, we're unified around a concept. And we got to understand what the concept is, because now when we say Shema Yisrael, we're not talking to Jacob, we're talking to each other. We're talking to the nation of Israel, and we're saying Shema Yisrael. Hear, O Israel, listen. And you got to understand, it doesn't mean just to hear something, because something can go in one ear and go out the other ear very quickly. It means to integrate it. When I say to you, I really hear that. I really want you to hear me. What does that mean? I want you to have some depth here. I want you to live according to what you hear, what you know is true. Here, listen, Israel. And what do we have to know? What's the basis? What's the foundation of everything in our lives? Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. The Lord is our God, the Lord is one. So there are many different names of God and in Hebrew, and the two main ones are these ones, Hashem and Elokim. So Hashem isn't really the real name. It's written in the Torah Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. And we never really pronounce that name unless we're saying a blessing or we're saying it in a verse. So we say Hashem. And the idea of Hashem, this name Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, is God beyond time and space, beyond nature. Before the universe existed, there was just Hashem. There was just this unified God conscious being, existence itself. That's all there was. And we see this in the name of Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, spells out Haya Hoveh V'Yehyeh, which means Hashem was before creation, Hashem is in creation, and Hashem always will be, even past creation, when there's no... Hashem is completely transcendent, completely beyond time and space. However, we have another name of Hashem, which is Elokim. And Elokim is a plural name for a start. We have anything in Hebrew, in general, if it finishes with im, then it means that it's plural, like Yeled is a child and Yeladim are children. So im, so God forbid, we're not saying that there are many gods. We're saying that there's an idea of God within nature. After creation happened, then we see nature, we see different forces, we see gravity, and we see the sun and the force of the moon and the tides, and there's big and small and dark and light, and there's so many different forces in nature. And what we're saying is all of those forces are really expressions of Hashem. Nature itself is like Hashem's clothes, an external expression of Hashem, but Hashem is completely within everything. As the Kabbalists say, don't look at a rock and say that's a rock and not Hashem. You should say that is a rock and it's not fully Hashem, but it's completely made up of Hashem. Hashem is the foundation, is the material of all of creation, Elokim. So we call this Elokim. So it's a plural word, but it doesn't mean that there are many, many gods. It means that all the forces and powers in nature, that is God. In fact, the word for nature, Hateva, is the same gematria, the same numerical value as Elokim. So there's God beyond time and space, and then there's God within time and space. Hashem's not separate from anything, but then we say Hashem Echad. God is one, is all one. There's not really a Hashem beyond time and space and Hashem in time and space and gravity, and there's just a oneness. And when we say Hashem Echad, Hashem, God is one, we don't mean that there's only one God as opposed to two gods. We mean that Ein Od Milvado. It means that everything is God. Everything in our lives is coming from God. And there is really, on this very high level, there's a unity consciousness called God. And we're trying to tap into that. And this is why we do a very special thing. When we say the Shema, we cover our eyes. We cover our eyes with our right hand. And then we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Because our sages teach us that really the world is deceiving us in a way. We see many different forces and we don't see Hashem in the world. But really we're saying that there is only Hashem, so we cover our eyes to say, you know what, the world as we see it is actually distracting us. It's deceiving us. But really, when I close my eyes, obviously it also helps me have the right intention, so I'm not looking all around me. But we're really saying that I don't believe necessarily in the world as I see it. I believe that there's a much, much deeper reality, which is a oneness, just a God consciousness. Now, obviously, the highest level of spiritual consciousness is, can you open your eyes after saying Shema Yisrael and still only see Hashem in everything, which we really said is the point of life. Can we see the world as a physical manifestation of a spiritual reality? So that's what we're trying to do in our minds. So we're saying Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and we're trying to teach that to the world. We're saying Shema, listen. And if you look in your prayer book, or you look in the Torah, if you read the word, that pasuk, that verse, the end of the word Shema has a big ayin. There's the letter ayin, and at the end of the Shema, Hashem Echad has a big dalit. So these are extra big letters. And they actually spell the word aid. And aid means a witness. A witness. And this is really telling us about our whole role, our whole purpose in creation. What are we meant to be doing here? We're meant to be being a witness to the fact that there's a divine creator of the universe who's deeply involved in our lives and loves us. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring God consciousness into the world. So it's not good enough just for us to be God conscious and see God in everything. But we have a role. We have a role to be a witness and say, I'm standing up and I'm saying there is a God. And I want to teach that to the world. Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. This is what we're teaching ourselves and we're teaching the world. And that's obviously clearly the foundation of everything in our lives. So then the paragraph goes on. And we say, Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavecha and you should love Hashem, your God, with all your heart and all your soul and all your might. So we have to understand what these mean. Firstly, you shall love Hashem. This is one of my favorite things, is a mitzvah to feel a certain way. You should love Hashem. Well, what if I don't love Hashem? There are lots of things in the Torah that are mitzvahs telling me to feel a certain way. It says you're not allowed to bear a grudge. Okay, but what if someone steals my car and smashes it and takes my job and I do feel a grudge? And you're not allowed to hate your brother in your heart. And you have to increase your joy at some times during the year. So I get putting on tefillin. If the Torah says put on tefillin and I don't feel like putting on tefillin, I can still put on tefillin. But how can the Torah command me to have a feeling? What if it says, when the month of Adar comes in, you have to increase your joy. Well, what if I lose my job on the 1st of Adar? How am I going to increase my joy? So the Torah is teaching us a very powerful, beautiful thing, which is you are indeed able to control your emotions. You can develop love, even for something or someone that you don't love. and you can let go of a grudge, and you can let go of hatred, even if you feel that. Torah is teaching us a very beautiful idea, that you should become in control of your whole being, and you should be able to refine and develop and express good and holy emotions, and learn to process and let go of negativity. So that's the first thing. You should love Hashem. And we've said in this whole course that when Hashem tells us to love him, it's not because he's needy and insecure and needs us to love him. It's because it's good for us. It's good for us to walk around in a state of love rather than hatred and anger and judging. And so Hashem's saying, you should love me. This is what you should be always. What does it mean to love someone? You're yearning for them. You want to be with them. You want to. So this is what it's saying. If you love me, you're going to see Hashem everywhere. You're going to be much more happy and much more connected. With all your heart, all your soul, and all your might. You're going to see what these things mean. So our sages point out something very interesting. If you look in your Siddur or in the Torah, it says b'chol levavacha. Now, anyone who speaks Hebrew knows that the word for heart is lev. Your heart is your lev. So how do you say your heart? Levcha. With all your heart should be b'chol levcha. But the pasuk, the verse says levavacha. It's got two vets. Levavacha. What's this extra va? So the Gemara teaches us that really is telling us that you have two hearts, which means you have two motivations. You have a motivation to be good and to do good and to be holy. That's one drive within a human being. But we also have a more animalistic drive and motivation, which is just to feel good and to look good and ego. And so we have these two drives in us. And Judaism says what we have to do is not kill the one drive. Don't get rid of your physicality and your physical drives and your passion. But even that part of you, you've got to use it to serve Hashem. So if you have kind of a drive towards whatever negative thing, you've got to take that. I have a drive towards eating and food or passion and anger. So use your anger to overcome injustice in the world, and use your passion for eating to turn that into gratitude that Hashem gave you food. You've got both these sides. Be good, do good, and look good and feel good. And we've got to start looking good and feeling good by being good and doing good. You can still look good. I want to feel good, but I could either feel good by feeding my animal side and food and honor, or I could feel good by helping people and bringing goodness into the world. So it's really saying, use your heart, all of your drives, all of your motivations, everything you're yearning for, you give them to try and make that go towards loving Hashem. That's the first thing. Then it says, b'chol nafshecha, with all your soul, which really means with your life. And on an ultimate level, there's an idea called mesirat nefesh, to give up your life, which means to give up your life for what you believe in. And there's so many stories of secular Jewish people in the war who refused to eat pig. They said, the Nazis would say to them, eat this pig or I'll kill you. And they died because there's something within us that says, I'm willing to give up my life for what I believe in. And Rabbi Noach, who set up Aish, used to say to us, what would you die for? What are you willing to give up your life for? And if there's nothing you're willing to give up your life for, then what are you really living for? You're just living for yourself. There's got to be something greater. There's got to be something beyond yourself that you're willing to give up your life for. So it's saying on the ultimate level, we are willing to, there's no point. My life's already over. If I'm not having this relationship with Hashem, then I'm just going through the motions. I'm existing, but I'm not really living. Because real life means a connection to Hashem, a loving relationship with Hashem. So if I'm not experiencing that, then what's the point of me being here? There's actually a famous story about a man who grew up in a very secular home in Tel Aviv. And one day he found a picture of an old rabbi. And he said to his mother, what's this a picture of? And she said, that's actually a picture of your grandfather. He said, okay, tell me about him. And she said he was a rabbi. in Europe, and then the Nazis came and they gave him this choice. They said in front of the whole village, he was the rabbi over there, he said, either you eat this pig or I'm going to kill you. And of course he didn't eat the pig and he got killed. And this kid said this happened when he was about 8 years old. Many, many years later, he grew up and he had his own family, and he went out to a shop and he was buying some not kosher food for his children. And suddenly he remembered that picture, and he remembered the story of his mother, told him about the grandfather. And he said, hold on, someone's crazy here. My grandfather would rather give up his life than eat this not kosher food. And here I'm paying to feed my children this not kosher food. Someone's not living in reality here. And he started learning and he became religious. He set up Arachim. He set up an organization in Israel to help people connect to Judaism. But this is what we're saying. There's what are you willing to die for? What's so important that's even beyond your life? Mesirat nefesh. So that's what we're saying. I'm loving Hashem with all my heart. So it means I'm prepared to die for Hashem. But as Rav Noach used to say, but don't die. Don't die for what you believe in. Live for what you believe in. If you're prepared to die for something, or don't die, live. Consciously seek out a relationship with Hashem, and consciously seek out giving that over to your children and everyone around you, and teaching the world around you about this relationship with Hashem. And then we've got the next one, which is kol me'odecha, with all your me'od, which really means very. You should love Hashem with all your veriness. So some people say this means money. There is an opinion that it means all your money, and it seems like a crazy opinion because we've gone up in levels. With all your heart, which means with all your emotions and with all your motivations. And then we said, even with your life, you should die. You should give up your physical existence. And then even with your money. So the question is what? Do some people, their money is more important than their life? And the Gemara actually says, yeah. For some people, their money is so important. They're giving up their life just for money the whole time. But really, we're going to go a little bit deeper. There's two answers. You could give up your physical life, but it's saying, which means what's even beyond your physicality, it's your spirituality. Live your life completely for a spiritual relationship with Hashem. And everything about you, not just your physical reality, it's okay to say, I'll give up my life rather than eat pig, but then are you living a spiritual existence as well? Are you connecting to Hashem? So you're even beyond your physicality, you should give up all your emotions and your intellect and your spirituality to be in line with Hashem. But for me, the most powerful thing, it says in the Gemara, is b'chol mida v'mida. Me'odecha comes from the word midah, which means a measure. And the Gemara says a beautiful thing. You should love Hashem with everything that comes your way. Everything that you get from Hashem, you have to use that to love Hashem and serve Hashem. So that could mean like your legs. Why were you given legs? So we say you were given legs so that you could walk to give charity to somebody, or you could walk to shul, or you could use your legs to do good things. Unfortunately, we then use our legs to run to do not such good things. Why were you given eyes? You were given eyes so that you could see the suffering of other people and go and help them. And you were given eyes so that you could read and learn Torah. But we use our eyes to look at things that we shouldn't be looking at. And why were you given hands? You were given hands to make challah and to light candles and give tzedakah. But we use our hands to punch people and fight people. Everything we've been given in our lives, that means our bodies, and that means our money, and that means our house, and that means everything. We've got to use everything to love Hashem and to bring that consciousness into the world. I actually said to my wife the other day, it doesn't matter what the house is like, because the house is only there to be a stand for the mezuzah. If we didn't have a house, where would we put our mezuzah? She said to me, I think it's also that we stay safe from the elements and we can raise our children. And I said, yeah, of course, that as well. As a mitzvah. But everything in my life, I want to be using it for this one goal. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Listen, there's only oneness. It's all about Hashem. So everything Hashem's given me, I've got to use it for Hashem. But the Gemara even says more, even the bad things. Even the bad things. I broke my leg. That's a midah. That's a measure. Hashem has given me this in my life. Why did Hashem break my leg? To help me love him more. Now that is very difficult, because it doesn't feel like Hashem loves you if he breaks your leg. But we say, just like you give an injection to a child and it doesn't feel that good for the child, but it's really because we love them, even the difficult pain stuff in our life is really to help us grow as people and to have more faith and emunah and trust. So to really be on this a very, very high level. To be able to give up your life not to eat pig, that's good. But to be able to live your life and accept everything that comes to you as being from Hashem, as an expression of Hashem's love to you, and that you can give it back with love to Hashem, a very, very, very high level. And this is what we're really trying to do. So when we're covering our eyes, we're saying really there are some things that it seems to me that it's not good and it's bad and it's evil and Hashem hates me. And we're saying, no, don't be deceived. Don't be deceived by surface impressions and go much deeper and realize Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, it's all from Hashem. So the rest of the passage, the rest of the paragraph is you should think about it when you stand up and when you sit down. And basically this has to be your consciousness all the time. Judaism says the spirituality isn't just for, when you daven in the morning, when you pray in the morning and the afternoon and the evening, and when you do a mitzvah. And, sometimes you reconnect to Hashem and spirituality. Judaism says no, all the time. When you're sitting in your house and when you're walking outside, this has to be on your mind all the time. We have to fill in. There should be a sign for you and on the doorpost. Why do we have a mezuzah? A mezuzah is to remind you every time you walk through a doorway, oh yeah, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Really, every doorway you walk through with a mezuzah, you should be thinking to yourself, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And everything that happens to me happens for the best. And everything in the world is actually an expression of God. And this means that Judaism is teaching a path of consistent God consciousness. Very powerful. We've got to understand this is what we're trying to do, tap into consistent God consciousness. So it's really one long mindfulness tool. One long mindfulness tool throughout the day. Obviously, we heard that Rabbi Akiva, when he died, he was tortured by the Romans, and the last thing he screamed out was, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. He screamed that out. And some people say at that point he died because of the torture. But really we say he died because he got this consciousness of Hashem Echad. There is only Hashem. Says his soul just left his body. Now that's a very high level, so we don't have to do that. We just have to, through the day, when someone takes our parking space or someone takes the last piece of food at lunch, just to remember, hold on. This world as I see it, there's a much deeper depth going on. There's something more and more powerful and more beautiful happening underneath it. So don't get confused. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It's all from Hashem, it's all one. And that's really, we're declaring that twice a day and hopefully tapping into that every time we are sitting at home or going on the way, or constantly remembering this idea. So this is what the Shema is saying. So it's not, I remember when I was growing up, people said, and now let us say the Shema. Shema Yisrael. And it was a nice cultural thing to say, but Judaism says it's not a nice cultural thing to say. The Shema isn't Jewish culture. Fiddler on the roof and gefilte fish, that's Jewish culture. Shema isn't Jewish culture. Shema is a deep, deep declaration of our faith that Hashem is in and beyond and behind everything that happens in our life. We want to try and tap into that consciousness as much as possible. Be'ezrat Hashem will be continuing our journey tomorrow.